that a strong imagination begets the event. Biblical faith is essentially faith in God as Savior. But this God, of whom the Bible speaks, is your own wonderful human imagination. Your own imagination is God, the immortal you. That is the divine body, Jesus. Imagination is not some vague essence, as one would be led to believe. It is a person. And that person is Jesus in you. That is your own wonderful human imagination. It is this being in you that must be raised. He's buried in you. Now, I took that theme from the current issue of Time magazine. You might have read it. It's in the current issue. The man who said it was quoting Montaigne, the great French essayist, who lived in the 16th century. He undoubtedly has influenced the thinking of most thinkers of the world. And he quoted it in Latin when he presented a product that he had, and then translated it for them, which is, a strong imagination begets the event. Now, this is his story. At the age of 36, in 1946, he inherited a business from his father. He became president of the company. It made photocopies of things. It was in Rochester, New York. It's called the Haloid Company. But in 46, the war was over, and all the great orders that came into him, or into the company, began to be cut back. The government cut it down to practically nothing. He had to look around for something else. And someone suggested that he look into a certain invention that came out in the 30s, but was never commercialized. It was offered to IBM, and they turned it down. It was offered to Kodak, and they turned it down. Offered to the A.B. Dick Company, and they turned it down. So he took it home and looked it over. And to him, he thought it had much in its favor. For the next 12 years, he simply imagined. Just imagined. Of course, he did put money into it. His company was making money, and what they made in 12 years, he put all that they'd made in 12 years plus what he could borrow. So he invested $75 million. Half of that his company in 12 years had made, and he borrowed loans and issued stock in order to get this thing moving. In 1960, 12 years later, he brought out the first tangible evidence of this machine. He took no salary in that interval. He took stock in lieu of salary. He persuaded his executives to do the same thing and just take stock if they could live. Well, he and 300 odd became multi-millionaires. That thing is zero. Today, it's $1,700,000,000 a year. One of the giants in our country. $1,700,000,000 a year. Last week he died having lunch with Governor Rockefeller and his wife. And sitting at the table having lunch, he simply collapsed at the age of 61. He was chairman of the board of trustees of his alma mater, the University of Rochester. And in that capacity, he persuaded the board to put $196,000 of their money into his stock. In less than 10 years, that $196,000 was worth $120 million. That's what it was worth last week. 196,000 became 120 million. And when he died, he left his alma mater $20 million outright and millions more in trust. And under his picture, if you have a copy, it's this week, it has imagine, imagine, imagine. And when he made the first sales pitch for his machine, he quoted this Latin phrase of Montaigne, which translated simply means a strong imagination begets the event. So when I'm told to believe in God, I believe in God, but not as some vague essence. I believe in God as a person. I am a person. I do not speak of my imagination as something on the outside that I am manipulating. That's my reality. I am all imagination. Man is all imagination, and God is man, and exists in us, and we in him. The eternal body of man is the imagination, and that is God himself. The divine body we call the Lord Jesus. It is buried in these garments of flesh. And the true and full awakening of the human imagination is what everyone aches for. So here my whole concept of life is based upon this concept of God. Not something on the outside, but that which is buried within me, my own wonderful human imagination. That is God. Now I can test it. I am told to come and test him and see. Do you not realize that Jesus Christ is in you? Unless, of course, you fail to meet the test. Test yourselves and see if you're holding to the faith. Do I really believe that Jesus Christ is in me? If I believe he's in me, then find out where he is. Don't just say he's in my skull, but in some strange way try not only to locate him, but to identify him. And so I've identified him, because by him all things are made, good, bad, and indifferent. And if all things are made by him, I must watch what I am doing to catch him, to find out who he is that makes things in my world. I found him to be the dreamer in me that fashions the dream. That's the being. That's God. That being, in one twinkle of an eye in the morning, brings me from a deep, deep sleep to the surface mind by building a bridge of incident in no time flat. He builds a bridge of incident through which or across which I travel to come to the surface of my being. Only some majestical, magical being could do that. Who is he? He is the dreamer in me. The same dreamer that daydreams. The same dreamer that took this man, Joseph Chamberlain Wilson, and he took this little thing that was turned down by the giants. IBM turned it down. Kodak turned it down. A.B. Dick turned it down. All giants. But he had faith in it, but he had faith in his own imagination. That is the story behind the entire article, as you'll see it in the current issue of Time magazine.